Hi, this is Matt Renfro. Today we're going to talk about internet safety. Specifically, I'm going to analyze the Children's Internet Protection Act and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule and how they are connected to E-rate. So first thing I want to do is define what E-rate is, because the other two topics I'm going to discuss are directly connected to E-rate. And so while I reference E-rate in those topics, I'd like to just go ahead and define what E-rate is. So the E-rate program is also known as the Protecting Children in the 21st Century Act. And this is a program where eligible schools and libraries can apply for a discounted eligible telecommunications, internet access, and internal connection services. And we'll talk a little bit more about eligibility here in a moment. The Children's Internet Protection Act requires schools and libraries that seek E-rate discounts for internet access and internal connections to certify that they have in place certain internet safety policies and technology protection measures. So they require a school to certify that its internet safety policy includes monitoring the online activities of minors. So the E-rate program is essentially a program where schools and libraries can get discounted rates for technology, but they have to meet certain guidelines. And these are rules that are set by the Children's Internet Protection Act and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule. So the Children's Internet Protection Act, also known as CIPA, this is enacted in Congress in 2000, and this act addresses concerns about children's access to obscene or harmful content over the internet. They impose certain requirements on schools or libraries that receive discounts for internet access for internal connections through the E-rate program. So if a school is applying for the E-rate program, they have to meet the requirements set forth by the Children's Internet Protection Act. So these requirements for the Children's Internet Protection Act: schools and libraries subject to CIPA may not receive the discounts offered by the E-rate program unless they certify that they have an internet safety policy that includes technology protection measures. So these measures, they must block or filter internet access to pictures that are either obscene, involve child pornography, or are deemed harmful to minors. So these are the requirements that CIPA requires in order for you to be eligible for the E-rate program, which offers the discount to the technology products. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule, this imposes certain requirements on operators of websites or online services directed to children under 13 years of age. It also imposes certain requirements on operators of websites or online services directed to operators of other websites or online services that have actual knowledge that they are collecting personal information online from a child under 13 years of age. So the requirements of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule. So only schools meeting the statutory definition of elementary school or secondary school can be eligible for discounts on telecommunications and other supported services. There are definitions listed in the official rule document, which is quite lengthy, that define what exactly elementary school and secondary schools are. The telecommunication services, telecommunications, and internet access are Category 1 supported services. There are two categories here of supported services that are offered, the second being internal connections, basic maintenance, and managed internal broadband services. And so there's a lot of monetary stipulations in all of this. If certain schools are funded to a certain extent, they receive certain amounts of money, a lot of money restrictions that determine what a school is eligible for the E-rate program and what they aren't. And it looks like that is determined. You either get Category 1 supported services if you have X amount of funding. If you have Y amount of funding, then you have Category 2 supported services. And then there's also, if you have a certain amount of funding, you're not eligible for any of these services. So a lot of monetary stipulations in all of this eligibility. So my school district, the Olathe School District, their policy pertaining to the E-rate program, the first statement I found in their documents online states that any site that can be accessed by students should be consistent with board-stated student goals, including avoiding inappropriate references or photos that include but are not limited to alcohol, tobacco, drug use, illegal activity, hate speech, etc. So this goes back to the websites that SIPA was deeming, harmful to children, child pornography, all those kinds of things. While I was unable to specifically find these board stated student goals, I did find this following statement that specifically pertains to the E-rate program. On their policy website, the Olathe School District states that in accordance with the Children's Internet Protection Act, Olathe Public Schools educate staff and students regarding appropriate online behavior to assist with ensuring internet safety. This includes use of email and Web 2.0 services, social media. The district has deployed filtering technologies and protection measures to restrict access to inappropriate content, such as those that are illegal, harmful, or contain potentially offensive content. So that's right there. That is just completely restating what the SIPA guidelines are, and Olathe is showing that they are in accordance with those guidelines. While every effort is made to provide the most secure and optimal learning environment, it is not possible to absolutely prevent access, accidental or otherwise, to inappropriate content. On the website where this document is listed, there is a slew of links available to parents that are intended to help parents educate their children on digital citizenship and cyber safety. There isn't per se any links that were directed towards educators. Here's a link for educators to look at or anything. I noticed that they say in their statement that they educate staff and students regarding appropriate online behavior. I'm not sure we've had a lot of education as an educator on internet safety. I think my first year teaching, that was 3 years ago, and those first 2 years are a blur. But I think we had one in-service where we spent an hour and a half looking at internet safety. And again, that was 3 years ago. If memory serves correctly, haven't heard a thing about it since, nor have I heard a push in any of my professional development for us as educators to push online digital citizenship skills to our students. So it's nice that they're addressing this publicly and they're saying that they're doing these things. And we do have filtering devices in place for the internet. That's all true. There are restricted access websites, most certainly in my school. But as far as getting education about how to teach students to be safe on the internet, we could use some more. So that concludes my presentation here. Thank you for joining me.